The first child who saw Jerry died 3 days later. The second nearly strangled herself. Then my 5-year-old daughter told me Jerry had started giving her missions too. I thought she meant the mouse from Tom and Jerry. She didn't. Her Jerry was a tall man wearing a white mouse mask. Another child saw him with black wings. Another saw something long hanging from his neck. We thought the children were imagining different monsters. We were wrong. They were all seeing the same thing. Jerry just looked different to every child because each child was seeing the way he planned to kill them. That afternoon, my daughter's pre-K class watched Tom and Jerry after nap time. If it had ended with one familiar cartoon, I probably would have forgotten about it before dinner. My daughter was 5, the kind of kid who carried things from the screen into real life without warning. One week, she decided the neighbor's orange cat was Tom. Another week, she made me cut her sandwich into the shape of a mouse because Jerry only eats pieces with ears. She had rules about drawing, too. No matter what the picture was, a house, a monster, a nighttime sky, there had to be a yellow sun in the upper right corner, even at midnight, even if there were stars. Dinner was ordinary. Steam curled off the soup, garlic and butter still hung warm in the kitchen air when my phone began buzzing across the table. The first message in the parents' thread was from Lily's dad. "Miss Carter, what did you show them today?" A second message appeared almost immediately. "Lily keeps trying to open the balcony door. She says Jerry is standing downstairs calling her." Then one more. "We live on the 12th floor." My hand stopped halfway to my mouth. Across from me, my daughter kept eating as if she hadn't heard anything. Her legs swung under the chair. Until that night, the most dangerous thing she had ever brought home from school was a caterpillar hidden in her pencil case because it didn't have a mommy. My phone buzzed again. Miss Carter replied through the daycare app. "Please stay calm. We only watched Tom and Jerry like usual. Nothing unusual was shown. I'm checking the classroom recording now." Our preschool had a secure parent camera portal, mostly so anxious parents could peek in during nap time or see whether their child had actually eaten lunch. A minute later, Miss Carter posted a short clip from that afternoon. I opened it. The kids sat in 2 loose rows in front of the TV. Tom chased Jerry through a kitchen while chairs crashed and pans flew. The children were laughing hard enough to fold over. One had crawled too close to the screen. Another had pounded the carpet with both hands. Miss Carter moved behind them, correcting the usual disasters. "Sit down, please. Hands to yourself. Caleb, fingers out of your mouth." Completely normal. I dragged the time bar forward. Around the 17-minute mark, Lily stood up. She wasn't in the front row. She wasn't looking at Miss Carter. She wasn't looking at Jerry either. Lily stared at the upper right corner of the television and started talking. The camera was too far away to pick up her words. The rest of the class kept laughing at the cartoon. Miss Carter walked over. Lily pointed toward the screen, then turned and said something to 2 kids beside her. One laughed. The other looked up in the same direction. Miss Carter crouched, spoke to them for a moment, then changed the episode. The video continued. No strange face, no hidden frame, no man standing behind the cartoon. Just Tom, Jerry, and a room full of preschoolers. I replayed the moment. Lily stood again, pointed again. I enlarged the video. Cartoon Jerry was on the left side of the TV. Lily was pointing to the right. I stared until the pixels broke apart. There was nothing there. Miss Carter wrote in the thread. At that moment, Lily told me there was another Jerry talking to her. Someone reacted with a laughing emoji. Probably watched too much TV. Miss Carter answered. That was my first thought too, but she said the other Jerry was inviting the kids to a place called the Hell Room, so I changed the episode. Another parent wrote, "Kids are wild." Lily's father did not find it funny. Then why does she keep saying Jerry is under our building? The thread went silent. I set my phone down. Hey, my daughter looked up. What? I'm not mad. You watched Tom and Jerry today? Yeah. Lily said there was another Jerry. The spoon in my daughter's hand stopped. Barely, but I saw it. Jerry, she said. You know about him too? She nodded. You saw him? Uh-huh. A cold line moved up the back of my neck. I reminded myself she was 5. One child says there's a monster under the bed, and by Friday, half the class has a monster under their bed. One kid says his dad bought a robot, and 3 days later, 6 other kids suddenly have robots at home. I kept my voice casual. So this Jerry lives in the TV? She frowned. No. I paused. No? Jerry isn't in the TV. Then where is he? She pointed. Not at the screen, at the empty space beside it. A plant. A wall. Nothing else. There? I asked. At school. What about now? He's not standing there now. He? Jerry says we have to call him Mr. Jerry. I almost laughed. A cartoon mouse had somehow become Mr. Jerry, but she was completely serious. You talked to him? Yeah. What did he say? He's the coach. The coach for what? The little soldiers. I almost laughed. Little soldiers? Us. What does that mean? We're Mr. Jerry's soldiers. If we do our missions really good, we get prizes. Who's we? She started counting on her fingers. Lily, 1. Maya, 2. Me, 3. She started to raise a 4th finger, then stopped. Who else? I can't tell. Who says? Jerry. I watched her. A children's game. That was the cleanest explanation. Lily saw the cartoon, invented another Jerry, told the kids around her, and by dinner they had a coach, little soldiers, missions, and a hell room. What kind of missions? Brave games. What's yours? I haven't done it yet. Who has? Lily. My phone buzzed. Lily's mother had sent an audio recording to the parent thread. No explanation, just, listen. I pressed play. A little girl's voice came through the speaker. Mommy, open the door. A woman answered. Why do you want to go on the balcony? I'm going down. Down where? Jerry's waiting. I looked at my daughter. She kept eating. On the recording, Lily's mother asked, Which Jerry? Jerry from school. The cartoon mouse? No. I sat straighter. The same answer. Then where is Jerry? Down there. Under our building? Yeah. Don't look down anymore. But he said I did good today. There was a sharp scrape of a sliding glass door. Then an adult voice snapped from calm to panic. Lily! A child cried. I have to go down. He's calling me. Lily, get away from the door. The recording ended. Nobody posted anything for a full minute. Then Lily's dad wrote, Balcony is locked. We're both sleeping in her room tonight. I want to meet with Miss Carter and the director tomorrow. Miss Carter replied immediately, Absolutely, and there will be no Tom and Jerry tomorrow. I locked my phone. My daughter was watching me. What? I asked. Are you mad? No. I tried to sound normal. Does Lily's Jerry look like yours? No. What does he look like? Little. How little? Like a baby. Mouse mask? No. What does he have? She thought for a moment. Wings. 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 I stared at her. Lily sees a little person with black wings. You see a very tall man in a white mouse mask. Yeah. So they're 2 different people. No. The answer came too quickly. They look completely different. But they're both Jerry. How do you know? She shrugged. Jerry is Jerry. I laughed once before I could stop myself. Her face tightened. I'm not lying. I didn't say you were. You laughed. I stopped. She looked down and pushed grains of rice around her bowl. I reacted exactly the way adults react when children tell ghost stories. Laugh, tell them they're imagining things, change the subject. "Okay," I said more gently, "I'm not laughing anymore." She didn't look at me. "But you have to promise me something." "What?" "Do not do Jerry's missions." She looked up. "Why?" "Because you don't know who Jerry is." "I do." "You met him today?" "No." "You met him before?" "I don't remember." "When?" "I don't know." "Then you didn't meet him." She went quiet again. I felt my patience thinning. "Either way, you don't do what strangers tell you. Miss Carter taught you that, right? Jerry isn't a stranger. He is to me."
"Jerry doesn't like grown-ups." "Good. I don't like Jerry either." She stared at me for a long time. "That's enough," I said. "No more talking to Jerry. No missions. Tomorrow I'll talk to Miss Carter." My daughter lowered her head. I ended the conversation in the voice of an adult who believed making a rule was the same thing as making something safe. That night, I locked the balcony door, checked the windows, and tucked her into bed. Traffic had thinned outside. Light from the apartment tower across the street slipped through the blinds in pale gray bands. She hugged her stuffed rabbit and turned toward the wall. "Go to sleep." "Mom?" "Yeah?" "Jerry was right." My hand stopped in her hair. "About what?" "He said if I told you—" She paused. "You wouldn't believe me." I looked at the back of her head. I wanted to say I believed her, but I didn't. "Tomorrow they won't show the cartoon. Then this will stop." She said nothing. I turned off the lamp and pulled the door almost closed. The hallway was darker than her room, lit only by the blue glow of the thermostat. I had taken 2 steps when I heard whispering behind me. My daughter's voice, small and even, like she was answering questions one at a time. I turned back. The moment my hand touched the doorknob, the whispering stopped. When I opened the door, she was still facing the wall. "Who were you talking to?" "No one." "What did you say?" She pulled the blanket up to her chin. "I was sleeping." I stood in the doorway for a few seconds, listening to the soft hum of the air conditioner and the stupidly fast beat of my own heart. Then I closed the door. That night, I still thought the dangerous thing was a cartoon. I didn't understand that Jerry never needed my daughter to believe he was real. He only needed her to start believing that, between him and me, he was the one who listened.
Chapter 2. After the screen went dark. The next morning, Ms. Carter was waiting outside the pre-K room. She looked worse than usual. Her hair was pulled back too quickly, and faint shadows sat under her eyes. A few parents stood in small groups along the hall, speaking quietly enough that the kids wouldn't hear. Lily's father was among them. He was wearing the same dark jacket from the night before. His eyes were red. Lily wasn't at school. My daughter took off her shoes and looked around the room. "Where's Lily?" "She's staying home today." "To get ready?" I crouched. "Ready for what?" She blinked, then shook her head. "Nothing." She grabbed her backpack and hurried into the room before I could ask again. Miss Carter came over. "Do you have a minute?" I nodded. She moved me farther from the door. I talked to Lily's parents until almost 2 in the morning. Once they locked the balcony, she calmed down, slept between them. This morning, she woke up acting completely normal. Completely normal? She ate breakfast, looked at picture books, asked to come to school. They wouldn't let her. Through the classroom window, my daughter was sitting beside Maya, both of them bent over a new box of markers. "No more Tom and Jerry?" I asked. "No." Ms. Carter shook her head. The director agreed. "No cartoons for now. I'm doing art after lunch instead." Relief loosened something in my chest. It was such a simple fix that the whole situation almost became reasonable again. No cartoon, no Jerry, nothing for the kids to copy. I remembered my daughter saying Jerry wasn't in the TV, but I pushed that aside. 5-year-olds don't separate cause from story the way adults do. A character can begin on a screen and keep existing in a child's imagination long after the screen goes dark. Miss Carter studied me. "Did your daughter say anything else last night?" "No." The lie came easily. I didn't mention the whispering in the dark. I didn't mention Jerry's warning that I wouldn't believe her. If I said it out loud, I knew how it would sound. A classroom got overexcited by a cartoon. Parents got scared. Then every normal thing the kids did started looking sinister because we were watching for something sinister. I didn't want to become that kind of parent. "A few days without it will probably help," I said. Miss Carter nodded, as if she needed to believe that too. For several hours, it seemed to work. The parent thread stayed quiet. Lily's dad posted around noon that she was still fine and hadn't mentioned Jerry once. Miss Carter uploaded a few pictures from art time, kids cutting construction paper, gluing crooked animals together, faces shiny with school glue. I found my daughter in one photo. She was holding up a lopsided paper rabbit. I zoomed in. Nothing behind her. By pickup, I had started to feel embarrassed by how seriously I had taken the night before. My daughter ran out of the classroom grinning. "Mom!" "Slow down." She wrapped both arms around my legs. "Jerry said I did good today." I went still. Around us, parents were calling names, car doors were slamming, children were running across the sidewalk. Everything continued with brutal normalcy. I bent down. "You didn't watch Tom and Jerry today." "I know." "Then where was Jerry?" "In the room." "Where?" "Different places." I caught her wrist. "What did he say you did well?" She hid one hand behind her back. It was a tiny movement. If I hadn't been staring at her, I might have missed it. "Show me your hand." "It's okay." "Show me." She hesitated. I pulled her right hand forward. A red cut ran almost an inch along her index finger, shallow but fresh. The skin was slightly split. A bead of dried blood sat near the nail. My whole body went cold. What happened? Paper? What paper cuts that deep? To green one. Did Ms. Carter do this? No. She looked confused by the question. I did. I tightened my grip on her wrist. Why? She glanced around as if worried someone might hear, then leaned close. Jerry said paper has knives too. What? He said if you find the right edge, paper can cut people. She sounded fascinated, like she had learned a trick. I tried it. It works. I stared at the cut. That was a mission? She smiled. Yeah. A pulse jumped in my temple. What did I tell you last night? Her smile disappeared. Not to do them. Then why did you do them? Jerry said it wouldn't hurt. You're bleeding. It just stung. That's not the point. My voice came out louder than I meant it. Several parents looked over. My daughter's shoulders rose towards her ears. I forced my voice down. You do not hurt yourself. Not with paper, not with scissors, not with anything. Do you understand? Yes. Did Jerry give you another mission? She stared at her shoes. Yes. My heart sped up. What? Not yet. Tell me. He says if I do 2 more, she looked up, I get an invitation. I didn't have to ask where. The hell room? Her smile returned. Yeah. I took her straight back inside. Ms. Carter was cleaning up construction paper when she saw me. What happened? I held up my daughter's hand. Look! Ms. Carter went pale. Oh my God, when did this happen? She says she cut herself with paper. Ms. Carter crouched in front of her. When did you do this? Art time? I was right there. I know. I didn't see you. My daughter didn't answer. I looked at Ms. Carter. Is there a TV in the art room? She looked up. An old one? My stomach tightened. You said no screen time. There wasn't any. That TV doesn't work. She led me down the hall. The art room was smaller than the main classroom. close and slightly stuffy. Sweet glue, freshly cut construction paper, and old dust mixed in the air. One fluorescent tube in the ceiling made a faint electrical buzz. At the far end sat an old television on a low cabinet. The curved glass was black and glossy beneath a film of dust. Ms. Carter pulled the cabinet away from the wall. Look! There wasn't even a power cord attached. The outlet behind it was half blocked by shelves. That thing hasn't worked in over a year. I looked at the curved glass. It reflected 3 faint shapes: Ms. Carter, my daughter, and me. In the unnaturally quiet room, the warped reflection made us seem farther away than we were. Does the camera cover this room? Yes. I want to see it. The staff office was cold from overworked air conditioning. Ms. Carter opened the full recording from art time. Low tables were arranged in clusters. Nearly 20 children bent over paper and glue. I found my daughter near the front left. She set down her scissors, looked up, not at Ms. Carter, at the dead television. Her lips moved. You see that? I asked. Maybe she's talking to another child. Which child? Ms. Carter didn't answer. Then several kids looked up at once. They weren't looking at one another. They weren't looking at their teacher. They were looking at the dark screen and smiling. One child clapped. Another nodded, as if someone had said something funny. Ms. Carter, in the footage, turned towards an empty table beside the television. She raised one hand as though she was showing someone how to fold paper. Cold air from the vent moved across my arms. What are you doing there? I asked. Where? By the TV? She frowned at the monitor. I'm helping Caleb. Caleb is at the other table. No, you're looking at it wrong. I looked back. The television was still dark, but the center of the screen seemed deeper than the glass around it, as if something dark stood in front of it and the camera refused to focus. Replay it. Ms. Carter dragged the bar back. The second time, the impossible moment was gone. The kids kept working. Ms. Carter stood beside Caleb exactly where she remembered being. The table near the TV was empty. Again, Ms. Carter replayed it. Normal. I took the mouse and found my daughter's part. The impossible piece had vanished. One thing had not. My daughter looked up at the dead TV, nodded, took a fresh sheet of green paper, placed her index finger against its edge, and pulled slowly. Her skin split. She flinched but didn't cry. A bright bead of dried blood appeared. She studied it, then raised her finger toward the blank television and held it there, waiting, like a student waiting for a teacher to say, "Good job." I barely remembered leaving the center. That night I kept my daughter within arm's reach. I put scissors, knives, razors, and anything obviously sharp where she couldn't reach. I even took the construction paper from her backpack and locked it away. She sat on the rug with her stuffed rabbit and a picture book. She didn't mention Jerry. Neither did I. Around 9, the parent thread stayed quiet. Warm lamplight covered the living room. The apartment had settled into its night sounds, the refrigerator cycling on, pipes ticking in the wall, an elevator cable humming somewhere beyond the hallway. I began to think maybe I had done enough. Lily was fine that morning. Her balcony was locked. Her parents were with her. Maybe the worst part had passed. At 9:23, Ms. Carter called. The moment I saw her name, my stomach tightened. "Are you with your daughter?" I asked. "Yes." "Don't let her out of your sight." Her voice was hoarse and breaking. "What happened?" "Lily is dead." For a moment, the words didn't connect. "What do you mean?" "She was fine tonight. Her parents locked the balcony and stayed with her until a little before 9. Her mother went to the kitchen for water. Her father went to the bathroom." Miss Carter stopped to breathe. "Maybe 2 minutes." I said nothing. When they came back, Lily had dragged a little chair to the balcony door, but it was locked. The lock was high. I closed my eyes. A 5-year-old only needed a chair to reach it. A neighbor heard her mother scream before Lily fell. I opened my eyes. My daughter had stopped turning the pages of her book. She sat perfectly still, clutching the rabbit to her chest and watching me. "Did Lily say anything?" I asked. Silence on the other end. Then Miss Carter said, "Her dad told police that right before she climbed up, Lily turned around and said, 'Jerry came to get me.'" After the call ended, the apartment held only the sound of the wall clock. Tick, tock. Each one seemed louder in the thick silence. "Mom." I did not want to hear it. I asked anyway. "What?" "Lily didn't hurt." I looked at her. "She got there." "Where?" My daughter gave me a tiny smile, the kind a child uses when repeating what she thinks is good news. "The hell room." I dropped to my knees in front of her. "Who told you that?" She looked down. "Jerry?" No answer. "Is Jerry here?" Slowly, my daughter turned her head toward the empty space beside me. Not the TV, not the window, just a darker part of the room where the lamp didn't quite reach. "He says Lily is the first one." "The first one what?" She looked at me. "To go home." That night, I slept beside her with one hand on her back. Every time her breathing slowed under my palm, I woke up. Near 3 in the morning, she talked in her sleep. Only one sentence. "I have 2 missions left." After that, I stopped believing Jerry was something that had started with a cartoon. Lily was only the first child in that class who had listened to him all the way to the end. What I did not know yet was that Jerry had been playing this game long before any of those children were born. Chapter 3. Every child sees a different Jerry. My daughter woke at 6:12 the next morning. I knew the exact time because I had barely slept. I had spent the night beside her with one hand resting between her shoulder blades. Every time her breathing slowed, I woke. Once or twice, I even held a finger under her nose to make sure the movement of her chest was real. She opened her eyes and studied me. "You didn't sleep." "I did." "That's lying." I was too tired to argue. She sat up, hair tangled over one side of her face. Early light filtered through the blinds, shrinking the room back into an ordinary child's bedroom. Low bed, stuffed animals, drawings taped crookedly to the wall. No tall man, no mouse mask, no hell room. Just my daughter and me. "Do you see Jerry right now?" She rubbed one eye. "No." Some tension left my shoulders. "Did he talk to you after you fell asleep?" She thought about it. "No." "And Lily?" She looked at me. I regretted asking before the question was even finished. "She's home now." It took me a second to understand what home meant. "Don't say that." "Why?" "Because Lily died." She went quiet. I expected tears, fear, maybe the confused questions 5-year-olds ask when a word is too large for them. Instead, she stroked one ear of her stuffed rabbit. "Jerry says dying isn't scary." A cold anger moved through me. "Jerry is wrong." She said nothing. "Look at me." She did. "Lily didn't go on a trip. She didn't win a prize. She died. She won't come back to class. She won't see her parents again. She won't grow up. Do you understand?" Her eyes filled. I knew I was being too hard, but a child had fallen 12 stories, and my daughter was still calling it going home. I pulled her into my arms. At first, she stayed stiff, then her hands slowly closed around my waist. "Jerry says Lily's mom and dad will only be sad for a little while." I held her tighter. "Don't listen to Jerry." She didn't answer. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. Miss Carter. The pre-K room was closed for the day. The center wanted every parent whose child had mentioned Jerry to come in for a meeting. Police would be there too. I didn't want to take my daughter. I wanted even less to let her out of my sight. In the end, I called my mother. Before leaving, I locked the balcony, pocketed the key, checked the windows twice, and told Mom not to let my daughter stay alone in the bathroom for long. She stared at me. I'm babysitting a 5-year-old, not guarding a prisoner. I know. Then what's going on? I looked at my daughter, who was coloring at the table. I'll tell you when I get back. I still wasn't ready to say aloud that someone only children could see was assigning missions to her granddaughter. The meeting room at the center was small, windowless, and colder than it needed to be. The air conditioning blew straight across a long plastic table, stale coffee mixed with the chemical smell of freshly mopped floors. Miss Carter was there, along with the center director, Miss Reynolds, 4 parents, and a detective named Ruiz, who had been assigned to Lily's death. Lily's father's chair was empty. Nobody asked why. Detective Ruiz did not begin by asking whether Jerry was a ghost. He asked about dates. Who mentioned this person first? Lily, Miss Carter said. Monday, after nap. The class watched a cartoon. Who was next? Maya's father lifted his hand. My daughter, Tuesday. Ruiz looked at me. Yours? Wednesday. Another mother said her son, Noah, first mentioned Jerry Thursday morning. Ruiz wrote 4 names across a legal pad. 4 children, 4 days, not simultaneous. Do they play together? They all do, Miss Carter said. Where were they sitting during the cartoon? She opened the classroom recording on a laptop. Lily sat in the front row. Maya was to her right. My daughter was directly behind them. I remembered Lily pointing to the corner of the screen and turning toward the children beside her. Ruiz paused the video. Do you know what she said? No, Miss Carter said. The audio isn't clear. She could have been showing Jerry to Maya. Nobody answered. We moved to the next day. Nothing supernatural appeared. Maya simply crossed the room during free play, took my daughter by the wrist, and brought her to a window. The two stood there for almost a minute. Did your daughter tell you about this? Ruiz asked. No. I thought about what my daughter had said at dinner. Jerry says we met already. Maybe they're passing a story around, Miss Reynolds said. One child says something, another child hears it and begins imagining the same thing. I wanted to agree immediately. It was still the best normal explanation. Maybe it wasn't the cartoon. Maybe it was the story. Lily invented Jerry. Lily told Maya. Maya told my daughter. My daughter told Noah. A chain reaction. Detective Ruiz did not argue. He only asked, do they all describe Jerry the same way? The room went quiet. No, I said. Noah's mother shook her head. My son says Jerry doesn't have a nose and he has too many eyes. I thought he saw something online. Maya's father frowned. That's not what Maya sees. What does Maya see? He opened a note on his phone. She said Jerry is black, very long, and there's something long behind his head, like a braid. A mask? No. Lily saw someone small with black wings, I said. My daughter sees a very tall, thin man wearing a white mouse mask. 3 different Jerrys. Then 4. Miss Reynolds exhaled, almost relieved. That supports imagination. If they were all seeing the same actual person, the descriptions should match. The explanation was so clean that I wanted it desperately. Ruiz wrote on his pad, descriptions inconsistent. Then he asked, what about the missions? The room changed. I told them about the paper cut. Maya's father turned toward me. Your daughter has missions too? 2? He swallowed. Maya won't tell us what hers is. Noah's mother leaned forward. My son says Jerry told him not to tell grown-ups. Ruiz looked around the table. Don't pressure them too hard. If this is a game between children, fear of getting punished will make them hide it. I thought about what I had told my daughter. No more talking about Jerry. Something uncomfortable settled beneath my ribs. The meeting ended without a breakthrough. When I walked into the bright hallway, I still had a new normal explanation to cling to. Jerry was a frightening story feeding on attention. Lily had started it. Her death made the others believe it more. Adults panicked, which made Jerry more important. A loop. I held on to that theory until Maya's father called. I had just stepped into the elevator. His voice sounded nothing like it had in the meeting. "Where are you?" "Heading home." "Is your daughter with you?" "With my mom." "Why?" I heard running in the background. A woman was crying. Something happened to Maya. I leaned against the elevator wall. "What?" "My wife got home first. I just got here now." He was breathing hard. "Maya took the ribbon from her little brother's birthday decorations." I closed my eyes. She found her in time. The elevator doors opened. I didn't move. Did Maya say why? Yes. His voice dropped. Jerry told her if she did it right, she'd get a long tail like his. The pieces from the meeting came back at once. Black, long body, something hanging behind him like braided hair. I stepped out of the elevator. "You said Maya described a braid." "Something like one." "Before today?" "Yes." The hallway outside my apartment was narrow and cold. The motion sensor light clicked off behind me, leaving one end in shadow. I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed 3 lines. Lily, black wings, called downward. Maya, long thing behind head, ribbon. My daughter, white mouse mask, question mark. I stared at the question mark, the cut on my daughter's finger, the bead of blood, the blank white face. I didn't have enough to know what it meant. I did have enough to know the order was wrong for simple imitation. Maya described the long shape before her father knew about the ribbon. Lily described wings before she climbed toward the balcony and said she could fly. The children weren't changing Jerry after something happened. Maybe Jerry was appearing first in the shape of what he wanted them to do later. I called my mother. "Where are you?" "At your place. Where else?" "Where's she?" "Drawing." "Stay with her." "What happened now?" "Just do it." I walked fast down the hall. When I opened the apartment door, my daughter was sitting on the living room floor with a box of crayons. My mother was in the kitchen. Oil hissed softly in a pan behind her. On the paper in front of my daughter was a tall figure, arms nearly to the floor, a white circular face, 2 round mouse ears. One detail bothered me more than the figure itself. The upper right corner of the page was empty. My daughter usually drew the yellow sun before she drew people. "Does Jerry ever tell you why he wears that mask?" Her crayon stopped. "What does he want you to do next?" "I can't tell you." "Why?" "He'll get mad." "What did Jerry do to Lily?" "Nothing." The answer came immediately. "Then why did Lily die?" My daughter looked at me as if the answer were obvious. "She did it herself." I couldn't speak. She bent over the white mask again. After a moment she whispered, "Jerry just tells us how to play." I stared at the empty corner where the yellow sun should have been. Maybe we had been asking the wrong question from the beginning. Not what does Jerry look like? Why does he choose a different face for every child? Chapter 4. The Fifth Child. That night, I turned our apartment into a place that barely looked lived in. Kitchen knives went into a locking plastic box on top of the refrigerator. Scissors, sewing needles, nail clippers, tweezers, box cutters, and pencil sharpeners disappeared into cabinets she couldn't reach. Charging cords were coiled short. Curtain ties came down. Cleaning products went into a high cabinet near the balcony, and I locked the balcony door twice. After Maya and the ribbon, anything that could loop around a neck made me sick to look at. I put away scarves, craft ribbon, even the decorative cord hanging from my daughter's wall. With every object I removed, a hook or drawer made a dry little sound. The familiar rooms slowly took on the stripped, temporary look of an apartment someone had left in a hurry. My mother stood in the living room watching me. "Are you child-proofing or preparing for a burglary?" "I don't know." It was the truest answer I had. My daughter sat on the couch, hugging her stuffed rabbit, watching me empty her art shelf. She didn't complain when I took the markers. She didn't ask why the scissors were gone. When I gathered the heavy craft paper and put it in a cabinet, she finally spoke. "You're taking my books too?" "Just for now. Paper doesn't always cut." I looked at her. She dropped her eyes. That night, I slept on a blanket beside her bed. I locked the window, closed the blinds, and left the nightlight on. Before lying down, I looked at the mirror over her dresser. For a moment, it showed only us, my daughter in bed, me standing behind her, the room washed in weak yellow light. Then I covered it with a towel. "What are you doing?" "The light reflects in it." She accepted that. I knew what I was doing was partly irrational. Jerry had not used a mirror to hurt anyone. Lily died at a balcony. Maya used ribbon. My daughter cut herself with paper. If there was a rule, I still didn't know it. I only wanted to reduce Jerry's choices. The next morning, I kept my daughter home. The pre-K room was still closed, and the police were still interviewing families. Maya was awake and medically stable, though the hospital wanted to keep her for observation. Adults had begun using phrases like trauma response, suggestion, copied behavior. I wanted those phrases to be enough. The entire morning passed quietly. Breakfast, picture books, building blocks. The washing machine spun in the hall closet. Cars hissed over wet pavement far below. Wooden blocks clicked against one another on the rug. My daughter didn't stare into empty corners. She didn't mention Jerry. By afternoon, the apartment I had stripped bare started to look more ridiculous than safe. I turned on the news from my mother. My daughter sat on the floor with her back to the TV. When the program ended, I shut it off. The black screen returned 3 reflections: my mother, my daughter, me. 3 people. Everything normal. I almost laughed at myself. Around 5, Mom went home. I kept my daughter near me while I made dinner. Steam warmed the kitchen. Chopped vegetables and frying garlic filled the air. She sat at the table coloring with crayons I had inspected so thoroughly I felt foolish. No metal casing, no sharp points, nothing that could cut. In the upper right corner of her picture, she colored a yellow sun. "Mom?" "Yeah?" "I have to go to the bathroom." I looked at her. She looked back. "Go ahead." She jumped down from the chair. I heard her small feet run down the hallway and the bathroom door close. Then only the knife against the cutting board and the faint exhaust fan from the far end of the hall. 10 seconds. 20. A minute. I told myself I could not follow my child into the bathroom for the rest of her life. 2 minutes. I put the knife down. "Sweetie." No answer. I wiped my hands on a towel. "Hey." Silence. I walked down the hall. As I neared the bathroom, I heard whispering. I stopped. My daughter's voice, very soft. "I know." A pause. "But Mom took everything." Cold spread across my back. "Open the door." The whispering stopped instantly. I tried the handle. Locked. "Open it." Nothing. I knocked harder. "Open the door now." "I'm going potty." Her voice trembled. I looked at the lock. It was the simple kind you could open from the outside with a coin. I ran toward the kitchen, then remembered I had put away almost every small metal object I normally would have grabbed. "Stand away from the door." "Mom, don't come in." I stopped. "Why?" "Because Jerry will be mad." I hit the door with my palm. "Open it." "I'm scared." Not of me. I knew that. I backed up and drove my shoulder into the door. The frame shook. "Get away from it." The second hit tore the cheap latch from the wood. The door flew inward. My daughter stood on the little plastic step stool in front of the sink. The tile was damp beneath her bare feet. The overhead light was hard and white, making her skin look drained of color. One hand was pressed to the fogged mirror. The other held something the size of a finger. I lunged forward. It hit the floor with a sharp click. An eyebrow raiser. I must have missed it in the back of my makeup drawer. I lifted her off the stool. At that exact moment, the steam on the mirror shifted beneath the light. There were 3 figures reflected in it. Me, my daughter in bed, and someone behind us. He was so tall his head nearly touched the ceiling. Thin, black, like a shadow stretched too far. His arms hung lower than they should. His head tilted slightly to one side. On his face was a smooth white shape. 2 round ears rose from the top. He stood at the edge of the mirror where the light was weakest, but the reflection made him feel impossibly close, as if one step backward would put my spine against his chest. I spun around. No one. Wall. Towels. The broken door. Nothing else. I looked back at the mirror. Only my daughter and me. My heart hit so hard it hurt. "Mom!" "Yeah? I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. The anger left me. "No, don't apologize." I held her tighter. For the first time since this began, I did not tell her Jerry wasn't real. I could not tell her I believed her either, but I had seen something in the mirror, and it looked exactly like the figure she had been drawing. After she fell asleep that night, I called Miss Carter. "I need to see the art room recording again." "You already saw it." "Again." A pause. "Right now?" "Right now." 20 minutes later, we were sitting in the center's security office. The room was dark except for the cold blue light of the monitors. The recorder fan hummed steadily. Every classroom beyond the hall was dark. I opened the art footage. This time, I was not looking for Jerry. I was counting children. How many kids were at this table? 4, Miss Carter said. I grouped them in 4s. The wide camera showed exactly 4 children. My daughter, Maya, a little boy, and a girl with short hair. I moved to the moment when they looked toward the dead TV. Their reflections were dim on its black glass. I paused. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the far left edge of the reflection was another head. Small, curly hair, a pale shirt. 5, I said. Miss Carter leaned closer. Could be a kid from the next table. I switched to the wide angle. There was empty floor between the tables. No child stood there. I returned to the frame. 5 heads. Anyone in the class with hair like that? Miss Carter stared. No. I called my daughter on video and sent the screenshot. How many kids were sitting with you that day? 4. I circled the 5th reflection. What about this one? Silence. Then, yeah. Miss Carter and I looked at each other. Who is that? I don't know the name. From another class? I don't know. When did they come over? They were already there. Did they talk? No. Then what were they looking at? My daughter answered quietly. Us. I enlarged the frame until the image broke into blocks. The 4 real children were turned toward the TV. The curly-haired child in the reflection was not looking at the screen. Its head was turned toward the children, watching them. We had spent days asking how Jerry appeared inside the television. But what if the television was only dark glass? What if the children were seeing the reflection of something already standing in the room with them? How many kids are enrolled in that room? I asked. 23. We counted the wide-angle footage twice. 23 actual children, plus the curly-haired figure in the reflection. 24. I stared at that blurred little head until the security office seemed too small for only 2 adults. Jerry had never needed to come out of the television because Jerry had never been inside it.
Chapter 5. The Invitation. 2 days after I found the 5th child in the recording, Detective Ruiz asked me to come to the station. He wouldn't explain over the phone. He only said Lily's parents had turned over something from her belongings, and because my daughter had also talked about the hell room, he wanted me to see it. I left my daughter with my mother. Before I went, I checked the windows, the balcony lock, and the bathroom out of habit. The eyebrow razor was now an evidence bag. The bathroom mirror was still covered. The TV was unplugged. I knew none of that was enough. Knowing a lock won't stop every thief doesn't mean you stop locking the door. My daughter sat on the floor building a tower from wooden blocks. Since the bathroom, she had talked about Jerry less. I didn't know whether that was good. Stay with Grandma, okay? Okay. Don't go into the bathroom alone. Okay. Has Jerry said anything? The red block in her hand stopped. No. I watched her for a few seconds. You don't have to hide things from me. I'm not. I wanted to keep asking. I didn't. That was the pattern I had created. The more afraid I became, the more questions I asked. The more I asked, the less she told me. I didn't know how to break it yet. Ruiz's office was at the end of a beige hallway that smelled like copier paper and burnt coffee. The fluorescent light made everything look washed out. A clear evidence sleeve sat in the center of his desk. Inside was a drawing. Lily's? He nodded. Her parents found it in the pocket of the jacket she wore that night. I sat down. The paper was the kind preschoolers used for art. One corner held a dark brown stain. I didn't ask what it was. In the middle stood a white house. Not the normal child's house with a red triangle roof, square windows, and smoke curling from a chimney. This house was long and low. One door stood in the center. Every window had been colored completely black. In front of it were several four-legged shapes. A 5-year-old might call them dogs. I wasn't sure. Their legs were too long. Their bodies sat too low. Some of the faces looked closer to human faces than animal muzzles. Every mouth curved upward. They were smiling. To the left of the house stood a little girl with black wings. Above her, in Lily's uneven handwriting, Lily went home. Across the top of the page, Hell Room. I stared at it. Had her parents seen this before? No. Mrs. Carter? No. She drew it? The crayons are hers. The handwriting is consistent with her schoolwork. We don't have evidence an adult made it for her. Ruiz tapped the clear sleeve. Her parents also say nobody taught her to write Hell Room. Mrs. Carter says it wasn't part of any school activity. I remembered what my daughter had told me. If we do our missions really good, we get prizes. This is the invitation. Ruiz didn't laugh. What makes you say that? My daughter said 2 more missions and then she gets one. I pointed at the drawing. This is what Lily got. Ruiz leaned back. I thought you'd say that. Why? Instead of answering, he unlocked his phone and placed it beside the evidence sleeve. Another drawing filled the screen. I knew what it was before I read the words. The same white house, black windows, the strange dogs. But the child beside it was not Lily. She had been colored purple. A long line hung behind her head almost to her feet. Maya is almost home. I looked at Ruiz. Where did this come from? The hospital. Maya woke up this morning and asked for paper. After the ribbon? He nodded. She still won't give us a full account. Her father wrote down one thing she said. What? Ruiz read from his notes. Jerry said I almost did it right. I didn't know which word chilled me more. Almost or right. She didn't die, I said. No. Then why does she have an invitation? Maybe it's just a drawing. Do you believe that? He looked at me. My job isn't to believe, it's to find things I can verify. I put Lily's photo beside Maya's. They weren't identical. Lily had drawn 4 animals in front of the house. Maya had drawn 5. Lily's windows were black waxy blocks. Maya had pressed the purple crayon so hard the paper had nearly torn. But the composition was too similar to ignore.
Ruiz zoomed in on Maya's drawing. There's something else. A small figure stood near the right edge of the house. Curly hair. My stomach dropped. The fifth child. You see it too? I opened the screenshot from the security recording and set the images side by side. The drawing was crude. The camera image was worse. I couldn't say they were the same child. The hair shape was close enough to make my palms damp. Does Maya know who that is? She won't say. I looked at the four-legged creatures. What about these? She calls them dogs. Jerry's dogs? She only said they live there. I didn't ask anything else. There are answers you can want and still not want to hear. On the way home, I bought a notebook. I parked in our garage and stayed in the car for almost 20 minutes laying everything I knew across 2 pages. No theories about what Jerry was, no explanations for the camera, only events. Lily. Saw Jerry first, talked to him, black wings, mentioned hell room, repeatedly tried to reach the balcony, got the drawing, died. Maya. Saw Jerry after Lily, black elongated body, long shape behind the head, would not reveal mission, used birthday ribbon around her neck, survived, drew White House, almost right. My daughter. Saw Jerry after Maya, very tall, white mouse mask, first mission, cut herself with paper, completed, praised. Jerry said 2 more missions before invitation. Next mission, draw a mouth, interrupted, not completed. I stopped. Then I started at the top again. This was not a series of random attacks. There was an order, a game. I wrote 1. See him. Lily first, then Maya, then my daughter. 2. Answer him. Jerry talks, the children answer. After that, he becomes Mr. Jerry, coach, someone familiar. 3. Small mission. I did not know Lily's or Maya's first tasks. My daughter had the paper cut. Maybe early missions were testing only one thing. Would the child obey? 4. Dangerous mission. Balcony, ribbon, razor. 5. Invitation. White House, welcome home. I crossed out the English phrase and wrote underneath it, go home. Lily had one. Maya had one. My daughter didn't. Yet. A different thought came. If the drawing wasn't something children made after dying, if it appeared before the final step, then Lily may have received hers before she climbed onto the chair. And Maya was proof that the invitation could appear while a child was still alive. It wasn't a picture from the afterlife, it was a notice. You've gone far enough to be invited. I wrote one final line. 6. Final mission? Then stopped. What did Lily do right before she died? Jerry called. She climbed. If that was the last step. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. When are you coming back? She keeps asking. I video called. My mother handed the phone over. Mom, what are you doing? Playing. Is Jerry there? Her eyes moved to one side. 1 second. That was all. No. I gripped the notebook. Remember when you said you had 2 missions left? She went quiet. Does the bathroom one count? She shook her head. I didn't finish. My stomach tightened. So you still have 2? Yeah. Do you know what the invitation looks like? I haven't seen it. Does it have a white house? She froze. Just slightly. How do you know? I didn't answer. Did Jerry tell you? No. She looked unsettled by that. Then how do you know? I didn't know how to answer. Do you know what's inside the house? She shook her head, then hesitated. Jerry says there are lots of friends there. I looked at the animals in Lily's drawing. What friends? The ones who went home. A few minutes after the call, I opened the notebook again. At the bottom of the page, I wrote, 2 missions left before invitation. I underlined it twice. For the first time since Jerry appeared, my fear had a shape. My daughter was not wandering through something random. She was moving through a process. Lily had reached the end. Maya had nearly reached it. My daughter was somewhere in the middle, and sooner or later, if I did not understand what came next, a white house would appear on one of her pages too. Chapter 6. The One Who Played Before. That night, I put Lily's drawing and Maya's drawing side by side on the dining table. I only had photographs. Ruiz had kept the originals. But the longer I looked, the less that mattered. The houses were not identical. 5-year-olds do not reproduce perspective. Lily's roof sat lower. Maya's front door leaned slightly to one side. The number of dogs differed. The feeling did not. Black windows, open ground, low, long-legged animals with smiles that did not belong on animals. The White House. I zoomed in on Lily's picture. A thought entered my mind so naturally I almost missed it. It's cold behind the house. My hand stopped. I stared at the screen. There was nothing behind the house. Lily had left that part of the page blank. Why had I thought about cold? Maybe because the picture was bleak. I switched to Maya's drawing. The dogs lay near the door. Another thought came. Don't go near them. I frowned. They're chained. I heard myself say it aloud. My daughter, sitting on the living room floor with blocks, looked up. What? Nothing. You said the dogs have chains. I looked back at the drawings. There were no chains. I enlarged both pictures. Nothing. Just crude legs and curved mouths. I turned the tablet toward her. Do you know these? She glanced at it and quickly looked away. Dogs. Whose dogs? At Jerry's house. Are they chained? She looked at me. The question sounded wrong the moment I asked it. I don't know. Jerry never said? She shook her head. I forced a shrug. Just wondering. But the certainty stayed. Cold behind the house. Chains in front. That night, after I got my daughter ready for bed, I checked her room again. The mirror was still covered. The window was locked. Nothing sharp was within reach. She crawled under the blanket. I stayed until she fell asleep. When I returned to the living room around 10, there was a sheet of paper on the coffee table. I was sure it had not been there before. Crayons sat beside it. My daughter's crayons. The White House. I knew it immediately. But there was no name written above my daughter. No "Go home." 2 people stood in front of the house. One was my daughter. I recognized the yellow dress she always gave herself in drawings. The other was smaller. A little girl in a red shirt with straight hair cut to the jaw. Above that figure, my daughter had written, "Mom when she was little." Across the top of the page, "Welcome back." I looked at the upper right corner. Blank. No yellow sun. My daughter almost never forgot it. I ran to her room. She woke when I switched on the light. "Did you draw this?" She looked at the paper. "Yes." "When?" "This afternoon." "Why didn't I see you?" "When Grandma went to get water." At least the drawing had not appeared by itself. "Jerry told you to draw it?" "Yes." "Is this your invitation?" "No." "Then whose?" She pointed at the girl in red. "Yours." I stared at the drawing. "I've never met Jerry." She said nothing. "Right?" No answer. "What did Jerry say?" "He says you forgot." A prickling sensation moved down my spine. Forgot what? The game. I sat on the edge of her bed. "Jerry says I played with him?" "Yes." "When?" "When you were little like me." I looked again at the words. Welcome back. Not welcome home. Back. I stood and called my mother. She answered after a few rings. "What is it?"
I just saw you today." "Mom?" Something in my voice made her stop. "What happened?" "When I was little, we had an old TV in my room, right?" A pause. "Which one?" "The used one Dad bought." "Oh, that thing." My heart sped up. "Did I ever talk to it?" Mom laughed once. "Kids talk to cartoons." "No, I mean, did I talk to somebody who wasn't there?" The laugh disappeared. "Why are you asking me that?" "Answer first." Silence. Then, "Yes." I gripped the edge of the table. "What did I say?" "I don't remember everything. It was a long time ago." "Try." "You're scaring me." "Please." I heard a chair scrape on her end. "There was a period when you sat in front of that TV every afternoon. It barely worked. Sometimes it was nothing but static, and you'd still sit there staring." I closed my eyes. A sound surfaced from somewhere far away. Hiss. White noise. Did I talk to someone? Yes. What did he look like? I don't know. It changed every time I asked you. Some days you said he was tall. Sometimes you said he was a child. Once you said you couldn't see his face. I opened my eyes. Different every time? Pretty much. Then Mom's voice slowed. After that, you started playing strange games. What games? Hide and seek mostly, except nobody else was playing. The room around me seemed to move farther away. Tell me. There was a woman who was in our building. She called me one afternoon. She was very upset. Talking over and over again? What did you call the place? Something about a room. She searched for it. I knew it before she said it. The hell room. The apartment went silent around me. I ended the call after promising I was fine. I wasn't. I sat in the dark living room with "Welcome Back" on my knees. The memories did not return all at once. They came like splinters of glass. The old TV, a screen full of snow, a shape I never looked at directly. A voice. Want to play? I liked him. Not at first. At first I was afraid. But he knew the games children liked. Hide, keep secrets, do something the grown-ups said not to do. And when I did it right, he praised me. Good job. One more game. I remembered standing in the narrow space behind the dresser, legs numb, listening to my parents call my name. Don't answer. If they find you, you lose. Then the construction pit behind the old apartment buildings. I remember climbing the low fence by myself, mud on my shoes, lowering myself into the dark. Nobody pushed me. Nobody dragged me. Jerry. No, I didn't call him Jerry then. I didn't remember what I called him. But I remember this. He stood ahead of me, and I followed him on my own. Then the White House. Maybe a dream, maybe not. I stood in front of it shivering so hard my teeth hurt. The four-legged things lay near the door. One stood up. Metal scraped over the ground. Chain. That was how I knew. Then my parents found me. The memory ended. I opened the notebook and wrote 4 names. Lily, Maya, my daughter, me. Lily dragged the chair herself, climbed herself. Maya chose the ribbon herself, stepped onto the chair herself. My daughter chose the paper edge herself, found the razor herself. And I had hidden myself, climbed the fence myself, lowered myself into the pit. A simple pattern emerged. I went into my daughter's room. She was awake. Has Jerry ever touched you? She shook her head. Held your hand when you cut the paper? No. Given you the razor? No. Picked things up by himself? No. Then what does he do? She answered simply, he talks. I felt something lock into place. If you don't do what he says, can he make you? She looked toward the corner of the room. Slowly, she shook her head. He gets mad. What does that mean? He says I'm a scaredy cat. I looked down at my notebook. Beneath the steps, I wrote, Jerry doesn't do it himself. Then, the player has to do what he says. For the first time, Jerry had a limit I could observe, a real limit.
But welcome back was still lying on the living room table. More than 20 years ago, I had not beaten him. My parents had simply found me before the game ended. Jerry had not come back only for my daughter. He remembered that my game was unfinished. Chapter 7. I Believe You. The next morning, I tore up the welcome back drawing in front of my daughter. I'd spent the entire night seeing the White House every time I closed my eyes. Fear had hardened into a conclusion because I needed one. Jerry could not force us, so maybe the game only worked because we believed in him. If belief kept the door open, I would shut it. I put the drawing on the table. My daughter was eating cereal. What are you doing? This isn't an invitation. I know. It isn't Jerry's house either. Mom, Jerry doesn't have a house. I ripped the paper in half. The sound was dry and loud in the kitchen. My daughter jumped up. Mom! I tore it again. The White House split apart. The little girl in red, me, became two pieces. Stop! Jerry isn't real. The sentence left my mouth and immediately felt wrong. I kept going anyway. The things you see are coming from your imagination. I saw things when I was little too. Then I grew up and they went away. My daughter's face went pale. But you saw Jerry in the mirror. I was scared that night. What about Lily? Lily did something dangerous. Because Jerry told her. No. I forced my voice to stay calm. She did it herself. Because Jerry told her. That is exactly why you have to understand he has no power if you don't listen. I gathered the torn pieces. There's no hell room, no invitation, no game. My daughter began to cry. Not loudly. She just stood there with tears running down her cheeks. You don't believe me again. I stopped. That's not what I mean. Yes, it is. I'm trying to help you. Jerry said you'd say that. My throat tightened. What else did he say? She took a step backward. Nothing. Tell me. No. Did he give you another mission? She turned away. I reached for her shoulder. Hey. No. She screamed at me. It was the first time since all of this began. You took all my stuff. You don't let me go anywhere. You keep asking me things, and when I tell you, you don't believe me. I let go. She ran to her room. The door slammed. I stood in the bright kitchen with scraps of paper scattered at my feet. I had expected the apartment to feel lighter after I destroyed the drawing. Nothing changed. Only my daughter was crying behind a closed door. Jerry was not mentioned for the rest of the day. I treated that as good news. I didn't ask questions. I didn't open the camera app. I didn't call the other parents. By late afternoon, my daughter came back into the living room. I made her favorite dinner. She ate very little. Then she colored at the coffee table. No whispering to corners, no staring at dark screens, no Jerry. Near bedtime, I started to convince myself I had been right. Maybe refusing to acknowledge him was the answer. Maybe all the mirrors and drawings and recordings had become powerful only because we kept feeding them attention. I removed the towel from the living room mirror.
Only I was there, a tired woman with her hair tied up badly. No Jerry. I turned toward my daughter. See? She kept coloring. She didn't ask what she was supposed to see. That night, I lay beside her. She faced away from me. I'm sorry I scared you this morning. No answer. I shouldn't have torn your drawing in front of you. Silence. But I still don't want you listening to Jerry. I know. Her voice was small. Relief loosened my chest. Okay, go to sleep. I turned off the light. Sometime after 3, I woke because the mattress beside me was cold and empty. I sat up. Sweetie? The bedroom door was open. The hallway was dark. Blue-gray city light leaked through the windows and cut the living room floor into dim shapes. The bathroom was empty. Then I saw her. My daughter sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the television. The screen was off. Her back faced me. Her hands rested on her knees. She looked exactly like the children in the preschool footage. In the quiet apartment, the refrigerator compressor sounded low and steady, almost like another person breathing. Hey! She startled. I walked closer. What are you doing? Nothing. It's 3 in the morning. She lowered her head. I looked at the black screen. It reflected both of us. No third person, but she wasn't looking at herself. She was staring at a point behind her left shoulder. Is Jerry here? No answer. The old anger rose immediately. You promised. Then I heard her whisper, I'm sorry. I stopped. She wasn't talking to me. Her eyes stayed on the screen. I won't tell anymore. Goose flesh spread across my arms. Who are you talking to? She spun around. No one. The same answer as the first night. I stepped forward to pull her up. Then a memory struck me so sharply I stopped moving. I was 5, curled behind the dresser, my mother calling until her voice turned hoarse. I did not answer. Not because I feared her, because another voice had told me, don't tell them. Grown-ups ruin the game. I stood in the dark living room and understood something worse than any reflection. I was doing exactly what my parents had done to me. Take things away, forbid, dismiss. Tell the child the thing she sees is not real. Jerry did not need to prove anything when I did that. He only had to wait until talking to him felt easier talking to me. I sat down on the floor. I did not touch her. Jerry says I don't believe you, right? She squeezed her hands together. I waited. Finally, she nodded. What else? I'm not supposed to tell. Why? Because you'll get mad. I looked at the dark screen. If you tell me, what does Jerry do? He gets disappointed. Not kill, not force, disappointed. That's what he was good at. He did not have to threaten children at the beginning. He made them want praise. Then he made them afraid of losing it. Do you like Jerry? She thought for a long time. I did at first. Now? Sometimes I'm scared of him. Then why keep talking to him? She looked down. Because he says I'm good. The answer was so small it hurt more than any drawing. For days I had told my daughter what she was doing wrong. Don't look, don't talk, don't do that, don't believe it. Jerry only had to sit in dark glass and say, good job. I closed my eyes. There's something I haven't told you. She looked at me. When I was your age, I saw somebody too. Jerry? I didn't call him that. What did you call him? I don't remember. That was true. But he played games with me too. Her eyes widened. Really? Really? Did he give you missions? Yes. The hell room? I nodded. Yes. You went there? I saw it. Was it pretty? I remembered the cold, the black windows, chained scraping over dirt. No. She went quiet. Jerry says it's fun there. Jerry lies. But you just said,
I'm not saying Jerry isn't real. I looked directly at her. For the first time, I said it without trying to take it back. Jerry is real. She stared at me. You saw him? Yes. In the mirror? Yes. I swallowed. And I saw him when I was little. My daughter looked at me for a long time. Then her mouth began to tremble. You believe me? Every sentence I had used against her came back. I didn't see anything. You're imagining it. There is no Jerry. There is no hell room. I held out my hand but didn't touch her. She moved closer on her own. I believe you. She threw herself into me. This time she cried loudly. I don't want to play anymore. Then don't. Jerry will be mad. Let him. He says I'm a scaredy cat. Then be scared. She cried into my shoulder. After a while she whispered, he says if I quit, I don't get to go home. I stroked her hair. This is your home. She held me tighter. The TV stayed black in front of us. I looked at our reflection. I didn't cover it. I didn't smash the screen. I didn't tell her there was nothing on the other side of the glass. I simply stayed there. After a long time, she lifted her head. Mom? Yeah? There's something I haven't told you. My body tightened, but I did not push. You can tell me when you're ready. She looked at the screen, then shook her head. Tomorrow. Every part of me wanted to make her tell me immediately. I almost did. Then I remembered why we were sitting on the floor at 3 a.m. Okay. I carried her back to bed. When I laid her down, she held on to my hand. Sleep here? Yes. I lay beside her.
For the first time in days, I didn't ask where Jerry was. I didn't ask about the next mission. I didn't check the mirror. I held my daughter's hand until we both fell asleep. Chapter 8. The Final Game. My daughter kept her promise the next morning. She waited until Grandma left, waited until I finished the dishes, then took my hand and led me into her bedroom. No TV, no phone. The mirror was still covered from the days when I had tried to remove every reflective surface from her life. She closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed, feet dangling above the floor. I sat across from her. For the first time since Jerry appeared, I did not ask the first question. She twisted one ear of her stuffed rabbit for a long time. Mom? Yeah? You won't get mad if I tell. I won't. You won't take all my stuff again? I paused. Not because you tell me something. She studied my face to see if I meant it. Jerry changed the mission. I felt my body tense, but I kept my face still. When? After the bathroom. I remembered the plastic stool, the eyebrow razor, the white face in the mirror. Because you didn't finish? She nodded. He was really mad. What did he do? Nothing. That answer would once have relieved me. Now it only fit the pattern. He said I wasn't brave enough, she continued. I told him it was because you came in, so he gave me an easier one. What was it? She looked down. Not tell you. For a few seconds I could not speak. Every time she said no one, every time she avoided my questions. Sitting before the dark TV at 3 a.m, Jerry had turned the distance between us into a mission. How long did you have to keep the secret? Until this morning. Why this morning? He said if I kept it until the sun came up 2 times, I finished. I counted. After the bathroom. 1 night, 2 nights. This morning. The replacement mission was complete. So last night when you said you'd tell me tomorrow, she nodded, I wasn't allowed yet. And now? Now it's done. She didn't sound proud. That helped, a little. Did Jerry praise you? Yes. What did he say? Very softly. Good job. The words made me want to break something. I didn't. What happened after that? She looked at the rabbit in her lap. I got my invitation. Even though I had expected it,
Cold moved through me. "Where is it?" She slid off the bed, knelt beside the nightstand, and pulled a folded sheet from inside a picture book. It had not appeared by magic. She had drawn it. The white house, black windows, four-legged shapes in the yard, a little girl on the left. Her face was a white circle with two round mouse ears. Above the house, in uneven letters, "Tonight you go home." I looked at the upper right corner. Empty. No yellow sun. The missing little habit made the drawing feel less like my daughter's than the monster's did. "Did Jerry tell you to make this?" "Yes." "When?" "This morning, before I told you." I set it down carefully. "What's the final game?" Her whole body tightened. I waited. "Jerry is coming tonight." "What time?" "When the house is dark." "Do you know exactly when?" "No." "Where will he be?" "In something where you can see yourself." The back of my neck chilled. "A mirror? Or the TV? Phone screen? Maybe. Window?" She nodded. "Reflection. Dark glass. Not a place he lived, a way to see him." "Then what does he want you to do?" He raised one finger to the corner of her mouth. The bathroom came back instantly. "He says I didn't finish my face. He wants you to try again?" "Not the same." "What's different?" She looked at me. "Tonight he says he'll show me how to make my face like his." I did not ask how. It no longer mattered whether Jerry preferred paper, ribbon, a razor, or a balcony. The object was never the rule. The child doing what he said was the rule. "What happens after?" I sit still. "For how long?" "Until Jerry finishes counting." My heart skipped. "To 12? She looked up. "How do you know?" Static. The back behind the dresser. The flooded pit. 10, 11, 12. I remember. "He says when he gets to 12, I won't be here anymore." She said it calmly. Not because she wanted to die. Jerry had spent days separating that word from the one he used. Death was what adults said. Going home was what Jerry promised. Was Lily's game the same? No. Hers was different. Because her Jerry looked different? She nodded. Maya, too? Different. I looked at the white mask on the page. I no longer needed every detail explained. "Do you want to do the final game?" She didn't answer. "I'm scared." "That isn't what I asked." She looked at me. "Do you want to do it?" She shook her head. "No." One word, more important than every camera frame, every drawing, every theory. "Then tonight you don't do it." "But Jerry will come." "I know. He'll be mad." "Let him be. He'll call me a scaredy cat." "Maybe you are." She blinked. I shrugged. "So what?" A tiny smile appeared and disappeared. "Jerry says only brave kids get to go home." I held out my hand. This time she put hers first. "You're already home." I didn't smash the TV. I didn't take the mirror off the wall. I didn't tape paper over every window. I wanted to, but I knew better now. Turn off a TV and its screen becomes darker. Cover a mirror and a window still reflects. Cover the window and a phone screen still shines. Throw away the phone and polished metal can still return a face. I had tried to defeat Jerry by controlling the apartment. I had tried to defeat him by saying he did not exist. Both failed. Tonight, the goal was smaller. Stay with my daughter. Do not let him turn fear into obedience. I called my mother and told her not to come over that evening. I did not explain why. Then I called Detective Ruiz. I told him my daughter had described a final game for that night and asked him to keep his phone on. "What kind of danger?" he asked. I looked at the drawing. Self-harm. I don't know the method. "Do you want to take her to the hospital?" I had considered it. A pediatric emergency room would have staff, locked doors, fewer opportunities to be alone. It would also have glass doors, black monitors, bathroom mirrors, metal fixtures, and strangers telling my daughter that what she saw was not there. Maybe a hospital was still the right answer. I didn't know. What I knew was that dragging her somewhere against her will and surrounding her with adults who dismissed her could give Jerry exactly what he had been using all along: isolation. "I'm staying with her," I said. "If she tries to hurt herself or I can't keep her safe, I'll call you and 911. Ruiz did not like it. Neither did I. But I had told someone. I had a way out. That mattered. The evening passed with an unbearable imitation of normal life. We ate dinner. She barely touched it. We built a blockhouse on the rug. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, outside the windows, squares of light in the neighboring towers went dark one after another. The elevator stopped on different floors. Water moved through pipes in the walls. Traffic hissed far below. Every ordinary sound became too clear because we were waiting for a different one. Around 10 o'clock, I turned off the TV. The screen became black glass. 2 reflections sat on the couch. 2 people. My daughter moved closer. "Mom? Yeah? Are you scared?" I could have said no. I didn't. Yes. Grown-ups get scared? Of course. Then why aren't you running? I looked at us in the screen. Being scared and running are 2 different things. She thought about that and took my hand. 10:30, 11. The refrigerator shut off. The apartment became so quiet I could hear the fabric of her pajamas move against the couch. She was getting sleepy, but I kept her awake, not because I thought Jerry could enter her dreams, but because tonight the choice had to belong to her. Near midnight, her fingers suddenly locked around mine. "Mom?" Her eyes were no longer on the TV. They were on the window behind me. I turned slowly. The dark glass reflected the couch, the TV, my daughter, me. And in the space between our reflections, something was beginning to rise. A human shape stretching upward like black ink pulled through water. My daughter trembled. "Jerry is here." I squeezed her hand. "Okay." I did not tell her she was wrong. I did not cover the glass. I did not turn away. "You remember what we talked about?" She nodded. "You don't have to do what he says." Behind us in the reflection, the figure kept becoming clearer. Chapter 9. The Last Round. "Jerry's here." My daughter's voice was barely louder than the air conditioner. Her hand was cold inside mine. The window behind the couch reflected the room, the dead television, the coffee table, 2 half-finished glasses of water, the small lamp glowing in the corner. Beyond the glass was the black city night. Inside the reflection, someone stood between us. At first he was only a dark vertical smear, taller than my reflection by a head. Then he kept stretching. His shoulders narrowed, his arms lengthened, his body became impossibly thin. Finally, a white shape appeared where his face should have been, smooth, blank, 2 round ears on top. My daughter sucked in a breath. "That's him." But I did not see a tall man in a mouse mask. I saw a child, 5 or 6 years old, soaked clothes clinging to a narrow body, bare feet covered with mud, wet hair stuck to a pale forehead. His eyes were so dark I couldn't see the pupils. In the reflection, water dripped from his clothes onto a floor that was completely dry in the real room. Tap, tap. The smell of cold mud from a construction pit more than 20 years ago returned so sharply I almost gagged. "What does Jerry look like to you?" I asked. "Tall, white mouse mask." I stared at the wet child. She stared at the masked man. Same place, same Jerry, different face. Every description the adults had treated as proof the children were inventing things suddenly stopped contradicting the others. The child in the reflection tilted his head. A voice spoke. "You came. I don't know what voice my daughter heard. To me, it sounded like a little boy, soft, familiar. The same voice that had once whispered from the other side of a dresser, "Don't let them find you." My daughter shook. Jerry said, "You did so good." Her fingers tightened around mine. Not, "You have to." Not, "I'll hurt you." Praise. Wait. Let the child take the next step herself. "You don't have to answer," I said. Jerry did not look at me. Or maybe he did. The version I saw barely had eyes. "You were invited." The reflection behind him began to change. Not the real room. I checked. The couch was still beneath us. The lamp was still on. The wall behind the television was still there. Only in the window, behind Jerry, the apartment faded into a pale, empty space. A low roof appeared, black windows, a single centered door. The White House. My daughter stopped breathing for a second. "The hell room!" "Look at me." She didn't. "Sweetie." I did not grab her face, I only called her. After a few seconds, she looked at me. "I'm right here." Her eyes were red. "But I can see the house." "I know." "It looks like the picture." "I know." "It's real." "Yes." That was the hardest part. I had to let my child be afraid of something real without using the easiest adult sentence in the world. There's nothing there. There was something there. That did not mean she had to obey it. Jerry spoke again. "One game left." My daughter turned toward the window. The mouse mask she saw seemed closer. The wet child I saw took one silent step forward. "Make your face like mine." My daughter lifted one hand. Every instinct in me screamed to grab her wrist. I had spent days grabbing things away from her, locking doors, dragging her back, stopping her with force. But we had reached the point where I could not make the choice for her. Her hand stopped in front of her cheek. She looked at her reflection. So did I. In the glass, her face slowly changed. Not in the real room, only there. Her skin grew pale beneath a blank white layer. Dark lines appeared from both corners of her mouth, pulling toward her cheeks. No real cuts, just the shape Jerry wanted her to see. "Don't look at that," I said. "Look at your hand." She looked down. "That's your hand." Her breathing came fast. "Do you want to do it?" Her mouth trembled. "No." "Then don't." Jerry said, "Scaredy cat." My daughter squeezed her eyes shut. "That's okay." "Scaredy cat." His voice stayed gentle. That made it worse. Lily was brave. My daughter started crying. "Don't use her name," I said. Jerry did not react to me. Maya almost did it. My daughter shook her head. "No, you are the best one." Her hand rose again, only an inch. Jerry changed words the moment one stopped working. Not coward, praise. "You're so good." Her chin shook. "Hey," she looked at me. "I don't need you to be good like that." Her hand stopped. "I need you here." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "But if I don't play," she looked toward Jerry, "he'll be mad." "Yes." "He won't let me go home." "You are home." "He says," Jerry interrupted, "if you don't play, it's Mommy's turn." My daughter froze. So did I. In the reflection, the wet child finally turned his face toward me. For the first time that night, Jerry looked directly at me. Memory came like a door blowing open, static on the old TV, sitting too close to the screen, a voice telling me to hide, counting, a fence, the flooded pit, the White House, a game that never ended because my parents found me first. My daughter looked terrified. "Mom!" "It's okay. He's going to make you play." "Jerry can't make me." "But I already played." She looked at me. "When you were your age?" I turned toward the window. "Right?" The wet child smiled. I did not remember ever seeing that smile before. "You quit." My heart pounded. Jerry said the counting never finished. A number sounded in my head. 10. Not a voice in the room. Memory. Mom! I held my daughter's hand. My part is my choice. Jerry looked back at her. Just say yes. She cried. Come here. The door of the White House opened in the reflection. There was no light inside. Then I heard something small and metallic. Scrape. One of the creatures near the house stood up, chain against ground, only in the window, enough to tell me they were still there. Look at me, I said. My daughter turned. You don't have to save me by doing what Jerry says. But I know. He's real. I know. He's right there. I know. I wiped her cheek. What do you want? She breathed once, twice. Then she looked at Jerry. Her hand was still shaking, but she lowered it away from her face, all the way to her lap. Jerry said nothing. My daughter inhaled. I don't want to play anymore. The room stayed silent. No thunder, no shattered glass, no thing lunging out of the reflection. Jerry only stood there. My daughter said it again, clearer this time. I'm not playing anymore. The white mask over her reflected face faded. The dark lines at her mouth disappeared. Jerry turned away from her, toward me. I knew then that her part of the game was over. Mine wasn't. Your turn. His voice no longer belonged to one child. For a moment I heard several voices layered together. A boy, a man, something far away in an old TV full of static. Come home. I looked at the White House behind him. When I was 5, I had wanted to go there. I really had. I had believed there would be toys inside, food, other children, a place where adults did not get angry and nobody ruined the game. I had gone almost all the way. You remember, Jerry said. Yes. You see me. Yes. I'm real. I looked straight at him. Yes. I did not need to deny him anymore. I did not need to tear up drawings. I did not need to tell myself I was imagining things. The wet child stood inside the window reflection like the death that had once waited for me in that flooded pit. Then keep playing. Fear moved through my chest and settled deep in my stomach. It did not disappear because I understood the rules. I was still afraid. I know you're real, I said. My daughter squeezed my hand. I remember you. Jerry did not move. I know I never finished my game. A pause. But I'm not playing anymore. The wet child tilted his head. You lose. Fine. You don't get to go home. I looked at my daughter beside me. I am home. For the first time, Jerry changed. Not anger, something less dramatic. His edges blurred, like a weak image losing signal. The White House flickered once, then dimmed. A whisper began. 1. My daughter curled toward me. 2. I didn't know who he was counting for. I didn't ask. 3. I held my daughter's hand. 4. His voice grew smaller. 5. The house faded. 6. Jerry seemed farther away, not because he stepped back, because the distance between us was stretching. 7. There was no 8. The window reflected only the living room. Couch, TV, lamp, me, my daughter. 2 people. We sat without moving for a long time. She spoke first. Did Jerry leave? I searched every part of the glass. No masked man, no wet child, no White House. I refused to say something I couldn't know. I don't know. She leaned against me. I didn't do it. No. I said no by myself. Yes. She began to cry again. I wrapped my arms around her. Not because we had killed Jerry, not because I believed he could never return, because for the first time since the game began, he had called and nobody had answered the way he wanted. Chapter 10. Don't Answer. My daughter slept until almost 10 the next morning. I didn't sleep at all. I stayed on the couch from the moment Jerry disappeared from the window until daylight slowly returned color to the room. Weak morning sun came through the blinds and caught dust floating in the air. The glasses on the coffee table and the toys scattered across the rug became ordinary objects again. The television no longer looked like a black hole. It reflected the opposite window and nothing else. No White House, no wet child, no tall man in a mouse mask. I still didn't feel safe. After days of waiting for something to happen, my body seemed to have forgotten how to stop watching. The refrigerator clicked on and I turned my head. Footsteps passed in the hall and I stared at the front door. But morning kept happening. Quiet, bright, almost unfamiliar. Around 9, I called Detective Ruiz. I told him only the parts I could say without hearing myself sound insane. My daughter had gone through a severe panic episode, but she had not injured herself. She was safe. I wanted to know about Maya. Ruiz was quiet for a moment. She's doing better. The doctors don't think she's in immediate danger to herself now. What about mentally? Still withdrawn, but she ate breakfast. I breathed out. And the other kids? The center is keeping the room closed a few more days. Several families are taking their children for behavioral health evaluations. He paused. You should consider doing the same. Yes, I meant it. A week earlier, I might have heard that as another adult denying Jerry. Now I knew those things did not cancel each other out. Jerry could be real. My daughter's fear was also real. Whatever Jerry was, a ghost, an entity, a shared hallucination, something without a name, the damage he left in a 5-year-old still needed care. When my daughter woke, the first thing she did was touch both cheeks. I was sitting beside her bed. There's nothing there, I said. She looked at me. I corrected myself. I mean, there aren't any cuts. She touched her face once more, then looked around the room. Where's Jerry? I don't see him. Did he go away? I didn't pretend to know. Maybe. She sat quietly for a while. Did I win? I thought about it. You didn't need to win. Then what did I do? You stopped playing. She considered that, then nodded. I held out my hand. Want to brush your teeth? Okay. That was all. A tiny, ordinary thing. When she ran to the bathroom in her slippers, I had to turn my face away for a few seconds. 3 days later, the apartment began returning to itself. I brought some of the kitchen tools down from the top shelves, not all of them at once. The craft scissors stayed out of reach. I did not replace the eyebrow razor. The curtain cords went back up after almost a week in a drawer. I uncovered the mirrors. The first time I did, my daughter stood beside me. We looked into the glass together. 2 people. Neither of us spoke. We waited. No third figure appeared. She breathed out. Mom? Yeah? Can you do my hair? I picked up the brush. Life came back in small ways. Breakfast, baths, arguing because she didn't want milk, telling her to pick up her toys. Things that had once exhausted me began to feel like evidence that the world was still here. A week later, Maya was discharged from the hospital. Her father posted a picture in the parent thread. She looked thinner, sitting on the bed with a juice box in both hands. No ribbon, no White House drawing. One parent asked, "Does she still talk about Jerry?" Maya's dad answered several minutes later, "No." Then, "Her doctor says we shouldn't keep bringing it up unless she does." The thread went quiet. Nobody argued. The pre-K class reopened a few days later. There was no more Tom and Jerry. In fact, the center stopped screen time entirely for a while.
They brought in a child psychologist to meet with the parents. She used phrases like peer suggestion, imitative behavior, reinforcement, trauma response. Every part of the explanation made sense. Lily talked about Jerry first. Other children heard. Each child imagined him differently. Lily's death intensified the fear. Adults questioned the children, which kept the idea alive. Maya copied dangerous behavior. My daughter did too. That became the official explanation. Nobody mentioned the fifth child in the reflection. Ruiz told me a technician had reviewed the camera file. Compression artifacts, light bouncing off the curved TV glass, frame blending. There were several possible explanations. None explained why one frame showed 5 children around a table where 4 actual children were sitting. Nobody wanted to keep asking. I understood that too. Sometimes an explanation doesn't have to close every hole. It only has to be good enough for adults to send their children back to school. I did not tell them about the night Jerry came. I did not tell them my daughter saw a masked man while I saw a soaked child. I did not tell them the White House appeared in the window. I did not tell them Jerry stopped counting at 7. I used to think I needed another adult to believe me before I could believe myself. I didn't anymore. Believing someone does not always mean understanding what they saw. Nearly a month later, my mother came over for dinner. My daughter had been back at school for 2 weeks. She no longer mentioned Jerry. She no longer talked about missions. She had not drawn the White House again. 3 new pictures were taped to the refrigerator. Every one had a yellow sun in the upper right corner.
In the newest picture, the sun was enormous, taking up almost a quarter of the page. I left them there, not because they were important evidence, because they were ordinary things, and I had learned not to treat ordinary things as small. The last Jerry drawing stayed in a box in my closet, not because I believed it held power, but because I wanted to remember the kind of mistake fear had made me capable of. Mom sat at the kitchen table peeling an orange while my daughter read a picture book in the living room. "She's really okay?" Mom asked. "She's okay." "No more staring into empty rooms and talking?" "No." Mom nodded. Then, as if remembering something unrelated, she said, "You were the same way." I stopped pouring tea. "What do you mean?" "After that thing with the construction pit, eventually you just stopped." I looked at her. "You said the old TV barely worked." "Barely? What channel did I watch?" She frowned. "That was forever ago. Try." She separated another orange slice. "It used the roof antenna. We got maybe 5 channels clearly, but for a while you kept saying you had your own channel." My fingers went cold around the mug. "Could you see it?" "No." "What was on the screen?" "Mostly static." She gave a little laugh. "You'd sit there watching snow for an hour. I thought the TV was broken." I didn't laugh. "After Dad found me in the pit, why did it stop?" "Oh." Mom looked up. "Your dad climbed onto the roof to fix the antenna and broke the receiver completely. After that, the TV didn't pick up anything, just static." I stared at her. "But I still watched it?" Mom slowly nodded. "Yes." I said nothing. She looked toward the living room. "Funny thing is, your daughter used to do something similar." My heart skipped. "What?" "Sometimes when I babysat, she'd sit in front of the TV when it was off." I set down the mug. "When?" "Before all this started." Mom saw my face and stopped peeling the orange. "Why?" "No reason." I turned toward the living room. My daughter was still on the rug with her picture book open across her knees. The television in front of her had been off for hours. Its screen was black. I stood. "Sweetie?" She turned. "Yeah? Reading?" "Yeah." I walked closer. The television reflected the room in dim kitchen light. Couch, coffee table, my mother behind me, my daughter on the rug, me standing over her. 4 figures. I kept looking. Deep in the left side of the screen, where the reflected hallway narrowed into a strip of black, there was a small head, curly hair. It did not stand near my daughter. It did not look at me. It stood at the far end of the reflected hallway, faint enough that I could not tell whether I was seeing a child or digital noise in dead glass. But I had seen that hair in the preschool camera, in Maya's drawing, and, according to my mother, in pictures I made more than 20 years earlier. I did not turn around to check the real hallway. My daughter followed my eyes toward the television, her lips parted slightly. I put my hand on her shoulder. I did not pull her away. I did not turn on the TV. I only said her name softly. She looked up at me. I shook my head. "Don't answer."